Hello everybody. In today's video, let us discuss about the bits related to our universe as well as Earth and its formation. If you like my video, like it, share it and subscribe it. Now, let us move towards these bits. So now, here in our universe, the objects present in sky or outer space, we call it as celestial bodies. So what are celestial bodies? The objects present in sky or outer space. Next, the time when shortest shadow occurs, we call it as local noon time at that particular place. Okay, the time when the shortest shadow occurs, we call it as local noon time. The next question, a clock based on shadows of an object due to sunlight, we call it as sundial. So what is sundial? A clock based on shadows of an object due to sunlight. Now next, when sun looks like traveling towards the south of sky, if sun looks traveling towards the south of sky, we call it as Dakshinayanam. Similarly, we also have Uttarayanam. Uttarayanam means when sun looks like traveling towards the north of sky, we call it as Uttarayanam. Right? Now the next bit, the shape of moon changes night after night. So as one night passes, if we see the shape of moon changes night after night. So these changes, we call it as phases of moon. These changes, we call it as phases of moon. Next, the groups of stars having some shapes of animals or human beings. The group of stars having the shapes of animals or human beings, we call it as constellations. So constellations means if we see in the sky, we see some animal shapes or human being shapes, that we call it as constellations. Now similarly, the next question is that the groups of stars which contain some millions of stars, we call galaxy. So what is galaxy? The group of stars which contain millions of stars, we call it as galaxy. Next, the star in sky which appears fixed at one point. So one particular star will be fixed, it will not move. So such star, we call it as pole star. Okay, such star, we call it as pole star. Now next, sun and celestial bodies, we call it as solar system. So what is solar system? The sun and celestial bodies, we call it as solar system. Now next, the celestial bodies which look like stars appear bright and emit light steadily but do not have light of their own. So what he is saying, that particular celestial bodies which looks like a star, they appear bright and emit light, but they don't have light of their own. They are called as planets. Next, the bodies revolving around the planets, we call it as satellites. The man-made satellites, we call it as artificial satellite. So do you know what is the natural satellite of the earth? Moon is the natural satellite of the earth. Right? Now next, the large number of objects that revolve around the sun between the orbits of Mars and Jupiter. Some large number of objects that revolve around the sun between the orbits of Mars and Jupiter, we call it as asteroids. What we call? Asteroids. Celestial bodies which revolve around the sun in highly elliptical orbits, we call comet. So what is comet? Nothing but the celestial bodies which revolve around the sun in highly elliptical orbits. Right? Now next, small objects that occasionally enters the Earth's atmosphere, we call it as meteors. So small objects that occasionally enters the Earth's atmosphere, we call it as meteors. Next, a body that reaches the earth from outer space, we call it as meteoroid. The body that reaches the earth from outer space, we call it as meteoroids. Right? Now, in our Andhra Pradesh, only at one particular place sundial is there, and that place is at Annavaram, East Godavari district, at Satyanarayana Swami temple. One sundial is present at Satyanarayana Swami temple, Annavaram, East Godavari district. Now next, we are having 8 planets. So now here, depending on that planets, he will ask the questions. This is most important. Okay. So Mercury, he will ask what is the smallest planet. He will give the options. You have to choose the option of Mercury. What is called as morning star or evening star? Morning star or evening star, we call it as Venus. Next, Earth, blue planet we will call. Mars, red planet we will call. Okay. Now Jupiter, we call the biggest planet. Saturn, it have rings around it. Uranus, it rotates east to west. Neptune, the farthest planet. Okay. So if he ask this, note down these points. If he ask this, you have to keep the correct option. So Mercury is the smallest planet. Jupiter is the biggest planet. Earth is blue planet. Mars is red planet. Now Neptune is farthest planet. Uranus rotate from east to west. Saturn have rings. And Venus we call it as morning star or evening star. Similarly, let us see the period of revolution. Okay. Now see, and number of satellites they are having. Mercury, period of revolution, one complete cycle, it takes, the period of revolution is 88 days. there are no satellites for Mercury. Venus, period of revolution is 225 days. It also doesn't have any satellite. Earth, 365 days. We consider as 1 year. It has only one natural satellite called as Moon. Moon is the natural satellite of the Earth. Next, Mars. The period of revolution is 687 days. 2 satellites are present for the Mars. Jupiter, the period of revolution is 12 years. So 50 satellites are there. Saturn, the period of revolution is 29.5 years. 29.5 years, 53 satellites are there for it. Saturn. Okay. Now next, Uranus. 84 years is the period of revolution and 27 satellites are present. Neptune, 165 years, the period of revolution, and 13 satellites are present. Right? Now next, now Earth means 24 hours. 24 hours means 1 day. Now Moon, 50 minutes, the period of revolution, 50 minutes more than a day to complete a cycle. To complete one complete cycle, it takes 50 minutes more than the day to complete the cycle. Right? Next, solar eclipse. So solar eclipse means we will say Surya Grahan. Right? So when solar eclipse occurs means when the shadow of moon falls on earth, we will get solar eclipse. When shadow of moon falls on earth, we will get solar eclipse. Now it occurs on new moon day only. Okay? On new moon day, sun and moon are on same side of earth. Okay? Such solar eclipse is of 4 types. Total solar eclipse. Okay? Partial solar eclipse, annular solar eclipse, and hybrid solar eclipse. Now first, total solar eclipse means it occurs when moon completely covers sun as seen from earth. Next, partial solar eclipse means it can be observed when only partially shaded outer region of shadow cast the moon. Okay? Now next, annular eclipse. It occurs when moon appears smaller than sun as it passes centrally across solar disk and bright ring. Next, hybrid eclipse. So it is a rare form of solar eclipse which changes from annular to the total solar eclipse. Next, let us go for lunar eclipse. So lunar eclipse, Chandragrahan we will say, shadow of earth falls on moon. At that time we will get lunar eclipse. So lunar eclipse is of 3 types. One is total lunar eclipse. So when earth's shadow, we call it as umbra. What is earth's shadow? Umbra. So when it covers all the moon's visible surface, we will get total lunar eclipse. Now when we get partial lunar eclipse, when the part of moon's visible surface is obscured by earth's shadow, only a part of moon's visible surface. Now when we will get penumbral lunar eclipse means moon travels through shaded outer portion of shadow cast by earth. At that time we will get penumbral lunar eclipse. Right? Now next, Halley's comet. This is most important bit. Halley's comet appears for every 76 years. Lastly it was seen in 1986. Okay. Now let us move towards some satellites. The first Indian artificial satellite is Aryabhatta. Most important bit. The first Indian artificial satellite is Aryabhatta. Now the examples of constellations: Great Bear, okay, Ursa Major, Orion, Cassiopeia. Okay, these are some of the examples of constellations. Now next, constellation that look like distorted, the constellation that look like distorted little capital M, we call it as Cassiopeia. The natural satellite of Earth is Moon. Why pole star will be fixed? I said that one particular star which does not change its position, we call it as pole star. So why pole star is fixed means it is on axis of rotation of Earth. So we will see it is fixed. It is on axis of rotation of Earth. Now next, a star is a self-luminous body. The heat, it emits heat and light due to nuclear reactions. The biggest constellations, we call it as Hydra. Now these constellations helps in calculating zodiacs, helps in calculating seasons, etc. Zodiac. This helps in calculating seasons, etc. Space shuttle sent to planet Venus is Atlantis. So the space shuttle sent to planet Venus is Atlantis. Astronaut who went into space by Voskhod 2 spacecraft and walked there is Alexei Leonov. Okay, Alexei Leonov. First satellite sent by Russians is Sputnik. Important question. And this is also important question. First Russian astronaut who went around the Earth in space is Yuri Gagarin. Okay, the satellite sent into space by European Space Agency is Explorer. Okay, Rakesh Sharma traveled into space by spacecraft named as Soyuz T-11. Right, these are some of the important practice bits related to the universe. Now next, let us move to the Earth and its formation. Okay, so now Earth is the only planet which supports the existence of light. Okay, this is the only planet which supports the existence of light. Such life, existence of life. Such Earth, it consists of 3 layers: crust, mantle and core. So one by one, let us understand about them. First, crust. Crust consists of mountains, lakes, plateaus, valleys, oceans, seas, etc. It is surrounded by thick blanket of air called as atmosphere, the upper layer. Okay, and above that we are having atmosphere only, no. Now the thickness of the crust under these oceans 5 to 12 kilometers, under continents 35 to 60 kilometer. So it consists of rocks such as igneous, sedimentary and metamorphic rocks. Rocks under oceans contains basalt. Rocks beneath continents contains granite. Okay. Now next, mantle. So this is the region between crust and core. The thickness of mantle is 2900 kilometer. It is made up of, this is most important bit, mantle is made up of iron and magnesium silicates. Iron and magnesium silicates. Now next, core. This is the central part of the earth. It is the central part of the earth. It consists of outer and inner cores. Outer core thickness will be 2300 kilometers. It lies beneath the mantle. The pressure of this region will be lower than the inner region. So here the iron, this is the important bit. In outer core we will see iron which exists in molten condition. Next one, inner core. The diameter of inner core is 2600 kilometer. Temperature is 6000 degrees Celsius. Pressure is 3.7 million times atmospheric pressure, and it consists of iron with some lesser amounts of nickel and silicon. It consists of iron with some lesser amounts of nickel and silicon. Okay. Now next. So about 400 million years ago, there was supercontinent. So one in southern hemisphere, other in northern hemisphere. The supercontinent in southern hemisphere, we call it as Gondwana land, and supercontinent in northern hemisphere, we call it as Laurasia. Right? Important question. Next, 200 millions ago, all earth continents bunched together into a single huge supercontinent. That single huge supercontinent, we call it as Pangaea. Okay, Pangaea. Now next, let us move towards earthquake. Sudden shaking or trembling of earth, we call it as earthquake. By using Richter scale, we calculate the destructive energy of earthquakes. We measure the destructive energy of earthquakes using Richter scale. Important question. Now slight earthquakes, we call it as tremor. Now seismic waves are tremors produce some waves on surface of earth, that we call it as seismic waves, and such seismic waves are recorded by seismograph. Okay, so this is also important question. So the seismic waves are recorded by seismograph. Now next, the instrument that measures the time of occurrence of earthquake, we call it as seismoscope. So the instrument that measures the time of occurrence of earthquake, we call it as seismoscope. Tidal wave caused by earthquake, we call it as tsunami. Tidal wave caused by earthquake, we call it as tsunami. Thank you for watching my video. If you like my video, like it, subscribe it, share it. धन्यवाद.